r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. Serious, for Redditors who have spent time in prison, what are some unspoken rules between inmates that should be known? Even if you aren't racist, you gotta stay with your own race. What if you're of a race that typically doesn't go to prison? East Asian, or Middle Easterners? Do you just stick with either the blacks or the Latinos depending on how dark your skin is? Also, what if you're ethnically ambiguous? I'm half white, half black, but I look more Hispanic, Southeast Asian. I think you might need to either learn Spanish or math, and just pretend to be a different race. I was in a few times when I was quite young, in Canada. Here's some rules. You don't whistle. You don't call anyone a goof. It's the worst insult. The American version is BCH or punk. If you borrow something, it's generally a rule that you pay back twice what you've taken. You don't steal. Ironically, don't talk about what you're in for. Don't gamble if you can't pay your debts. Don't back down from a challenge. Always make sure a seat isn't taken before sitting in the cafeteria. Don't hide in your cell. Keep your cell clean. Don't be friendly with the guards. For the borrowing one, how does it work if you borrow something like a book or a magazine? What I should have said is this: in jails there are stores where you can take out loans on things like cigarettes. Basically a loan shark business. That's when you have to pay back extra. Guards will tell you not to borrow anything when you first go in, which is good advice. You don't want to have anything held against you. I've also heard that you don't accept any gifts either. Nothing is free after all. I have been in jail, not prison. One thing I learned is that Big Brother is considered a gay show and you will get beat up if you try watching it on a shared TV. Also, never talk about your case unless you are out of appeals, because there are specific inmates who will try to learn just a basic understanding of your case, then lie and say you confessed to killing Billy or whatever. Sprinkle a few legit details about your case to make it sound legit, and get some time off. This will destroy you in court as you will have no way to prove they're lying. I had one of these guys constantly asking me about my address, my family, all kinds of info, but I had been warned and gave false info so he would discredit himself. I had one of these guys constantly asking me about my address, my family, all kinds of info, but I had been warned and gave false info so he would discredit himself. Did you hear about him trying? Not that I know of, but he had done so to many others before me. Dude actually knew my address, the name of my siblings, and all kinds of stuff before I ever spoke to him, which had me pretty scared. Whether he attempted to do a false confession on me that simply was not good enough for the district attorney or not, I will never know. This is why I get off jury duty TMYK. I was being interviewed for a murder trial and the prosecutor asked if anyone had an issue with jailhouse witnesses. I was the only one who raised a hand. I can't believe this isn't more well known. How many fucking convictions have been overturned through the years, and one of the things brought up is the jailhouse confession someone's cellmate reported. I was matriculated in New Mexico's system. If you're unwilling to resort to physical means to be reimbursed for something, don't lend anything. This will result in many of your possessions being stolen. If you make eye contact with someone, don't look away, but rather look as if you're trying to see something behind them. If someone threatens you for something like graham crackers, don't give it to them. It's better to take one potential beating than dozens for forfeiting your food or anything. Never give your opinion to anyone unless asked directly, then lie based on what they were previously discussing. Never take the Lord's name in vain. Many inmates turn to God while incarcerated, and if you say Jesus Christ or something even remotely similar to that, you will probably get jumped. Many prison gangs like artists. This got me through because they want tattoos, so the best way to avoid the bulk of chaos is to be a decent artist. 5 is kind of ironic, haha. Oh, you said the Lord's name in vain? I'm a devout follower, now I'm gonna rock your shit. I know. There is no reasoning though. Also, don't try to reason. It makes you look cowardly. Fixed formatting. If you're unwilling to resort to physical means to be reimbursed for something, don't lend anything. This will result in many of your possessions being stolen. If you make eye contact with someone, don't look away, but rather look as if you're trying to see something behind them. If someone threatens you for something like graham crackers, don't give it to them. It's better to take one potential beating than dozens for forfeiting your food or anything. Never give your opinion to anyone unless asked directly. Then lie based on what they were previously discussing. Never take the Lord's name in vain. Many inmates turn to God while incarcerated, and if you say Jesus Christ or something even remotely similar to that, you will probably get jumped. Many prison gangs like artists. This got me through because they want tattoos, so the best way to avoid the bulk of chaos is to be a decent artist. So many rules made by people who ended up breaking the rules. In the US, if you see a group, it won't be one person beating a sex offender to death, you join in, or else you will be labeled a sympathizer and get beat to death too at some point soon. Also, everyone's going to be there for a long time. This is now your family. Be cool, be friendly, but be a man and stand up for yourself. Don't let yourself be taken advantage of, or you always will be. I'm a little drunk, so I'm sure I could word that better. The first point is brutal. Any idea how common this is? All convicts pretty much hate child molesters, especially if they have kids. Since he yucked up and got sent to prison, his family is now out in the world without a father, without a protector. Most inmates agonize over what bad shit may be happening to their kids or their SO, because they can't do a thing about it, and they know how many completely ruthless AS there are in the world. So when they run into a child molester dumb enough to not go into AdSeg, they do their best to even the score. What's AdSeg? If you need to take a shit, hold it until the morning. Do not stink up the cell. Seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people wouldn't think twice about this. I mean, when you got to go, but have a bit of sense. Another one, and I don't know if this was just specific to my time there, but you never bring up another inmate's crimes court case if you happen upon in a newspaper or whatever. People gossip, but where I was it was a big no-no to start discussing what happened to who, unless you wanted to be beat up. This rule seemed to be enforced by the arrival of a semi-famous celebrity crime boss whose private life was splashed out all over the papers for a few weeks following his sentencing. One young guy decided it would be funny to start a chant about his wife and was promptly sent to hospital and moved prison. Another rule we all abided by was don't get involved in other people's feuds, fights, or whatever. No one should jump in or stand up for anyone else for their own safety. I felt a bit bad about this as one time my cellmate, who was a reasonably decent guy, was beaten up while I watched. I just sort of shrugged, but he understood I wasn't going to jeopardize my safety to save him. After becoming friendly with some of the other inmates, it took a riot where a guard got his face slashed and lost an eye to reiterate that this is prison and everyone is here for breaking the law. The majority violence related. What happens if I have a disease like Crohn's or AIDS, which is moderately outside of my control? Is that a massive detriment? I legit have Crohn's and this is a hypothetical nightmare to me. Well, I hope you get some considerate cellmates. For a few weeks I slept in a 4-man cell with this guy who, due to drug use, some sort of heroin solution I think, he had regular diarrhea. He stole cleaning supplies from the storeroom to prevent the room from smelling. Very nice of him. Make sure you're big enough that no one will dare say anything to you, or else try stay out of prison. On the plus side, most people with AIDS or similar can get flare-ups with stress, like during a beating. So you might end up in the hospital after a beating, but they'll end up covered in shit, so tell me who's the real loser. The courtesy flush. You flush your poop straight as it falls in so it doesn't stink out the place too much. Always have one leg outside your pants when taking a dump. Then if anyone attacks you, your legs aren't short leashed together. A good friend of mine has done his fair share in county and told me that one firsthand. He said you'll never feel as helpless as when you're on the shitter with legs tangled up, your balls hanging out, and 2 guys get in a fight in front of you. Another one of his was, if you can, put your shoes under your bedposts before you go to sleep, so no one can steal them. Always get a job in the kitchen if you can, it's the best place to work. I hear that. Back in 08 I did some time for a robbery. Started working in the ramp room, which was the kitchen stock room. The kitchen guys would occasionally bring us some stuff every now and then, but once I got transferred to working in the kitchen, we ate amazing food every day. Bacon, scrambled eggs, home freeze, French toast, pancakes, etc. for breakfast, chicken fingers, chicken parm, veal, rigatoni, homemade bacon cheeseburgers and fries for lunch and dinner. Homemade cookies and brownies for dessert. We ate like champs while the rest of the facility ate the garbage state food. It was the best part about being locked up. I've been in Cook County Jail in Chicago, so while not really a prison, it's damn close. There were basically 4 main groups: blacks, Hispanics, whites, and neutrons. Slang for anyone that isn't in a gang. I was grouped in with the neutrons. I was asked immediately when I got to my bunk if I was plugged. Slang for being in a gang. I told a couple of the guys no, and was told that being a big guy will help me. Just mind my business. Obey the unwritten rules and I'll be okay. A few of the unwritten rules for a neutron: must not eat at the same tables as the gang members. Must wait to eat while all the gang members say grace together before dinner. Yes, you read that correctly. When the gang leaders wanted to shower, you got the yuck out of the showers. Don't get involved in any barter systems with the gangs. Gangs get extra trays of food. No one else unless you work in the kitchen. At the same time, it was heavily frowned upon within the gang community if a fellow gang member picked on a neutron. It's considered weak, and I've seen guys get behind kicked by their own gang for doing it. I had a buddy get out of Cook a year or so back after a 2-year sentence. He mentioned he was a part of the neutrons. I thought he was joking about that name. Said he had to clock someone once so people would leave him alone. He was an energetic and funny guy though. Just never sits the yuck down. It's a different world in there, that's for sure. An interesting fact not too many people know about in Cook: there is a maze of underground tunnels under the buildings that serve as a way to transport the meals to different units. These tunnels and the elevators that bring the food up are where most of the illegal shit happens. Correctional officers having relations with each other or inmates. Drugs, underhanded deals between inmates and officers, etc. Shut the yuck up. Don't talk about your case. Don't look at a mother ucker. Do not accept any gift whatsoever. It will not be free. How do you refuse a gift without pissing off the person offering? Probably will, and you will probably have to fight the differences. You won't still know after your behind is kicked. Always do a courtesy flush. And don't shit in the wrong toilet. It's disgusting and unimaginable. But offenders get really weird about their toilets, especially those who've been in solitary. Basically, most offenders have had to wash their clothes in the toilet. When there is more than one toilet, one is reserved for clothes washing and the other for shitting. No joke. Note to myself: don't break the law because you won't last a day in jail. If you cry in front of anyone, you'd better be a funny guy. More tats means more rights. Walking through a door alongside someone with, say, a full face of tats, you should take one step slower so they pass you. Don't touch my shit. Seriously, when locked up, people have very few things they can call their own. And if you snatch it without asking, what you're gonna wind up with is a fucking beating. And the courtesy flush. No matter where you shit or when you shit, that toilet better be taking that turd as it is still departing your behind. There's enough nasty odors to contend with on the block. No one needs to add your shit stink to it. Ducking like and subscribe.